Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, Chairman of SPF, Dr. Robert Yap, President of SNEF, members of the National Productivity and Continuing Education Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very happy to be here to open the National Productivity Month. For a very long time, productivity has been fundamental to Singapore's prosperity. In fact, we started promoting productivity more than 30 years ago. And the focus then was on equipping our workers with relevant skills. So we set up the National Productivity Center under EDB and later upgraded it, and it became the National Productivity Board in 1972. In 1981, then Prime Minister Mr. Lee Kuan Yew launched a national effort. He was concerned that our productivity levels were only a third that of the advanced economies. And he said, workers here, meaning in Singapore, who are not as proud of or as skilled in their jobs compared to the Japanese or the Germans. So he began a national productivity movement that year, and he personally launched a productivity month every year for quite a number of years after that. And many of you here will be old enough to remember Timmy the Bee, the mascot which stood for diligence, teamwork, and innovation, and the quality control circles and the work improvement teams, the QCCs and the WITS teams, which we spawned and which popularized the idea of productivity at the workplace from the bottom up. As Minister for Trade and Industry, I spoke at the opening of one productivity month, and that was in 1987. And in my speech those many years ago, I quoted a letter by the former chairman of the Japan Productivity Center, Mr. Kohei Goshi, who had written to Mr. Lee, the Prime Minister. And Mr. Goshi was a deep believer in the importance of productivity and one of the key figures in fostering a strong productivity culture in Japan. He was then already an old man, but he was still passionate and still pursuing productivity and lived and breathed it. So I quoted from his letter. The following year, 1988, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew opened the Productivity Month again. And he decided to quote the letter once more, because he explained that when I had quoted the letter the year before, the press hadn't paid attention, so he decided to quote it himself. So since it's been 25 years since then, in fact longer, and the quote is as relevant as ever, let me share it with you for the third time. Mr. Goshi described the productivity movement as a marathon without a finish line. And he wrote, all world-class marathons are designed to test the athlete's endurance and will to win. Flat courses are inevitably followed by heartbreak hills, and any good athlete knows that you cannot maintain the same pace throughout the marathon if you expect to win. Which is still true today. And on the importance of upgrading workers, Mr. Goshi quoted an even older saying, and it goes back to the Chinese philosopher Guanzi, who lived 2,500 years ago. And Guanzi said, when planning for 1 year, there's nothing better than planting grains. When planning for 10 years, there's nothing better than planting trees. And when planning for a lifetime, there's nothing better than planting men. Or in Chinese, 一年之计莫如树谷，10年之计莫如树木，终身之计莫如树人。Mr. Goshi's words distilled from a lifetime's experience in the Japan Productivity Center. And they are still relevant today. And they remind us to keep up the effort to increase productivity year after year. What has changed since then till now is our economy. We've made a lot of progress on productivity. Our workers are better skilled. Our economy is more developed. But we are reaching a different stage of economic development and shifting to a slower pace of growth. Instead of 6% per year, we are aiming for about 3% per year, more typical of the developed economies. We have less free land available, though we can still create and reclaim more space, as we have done with Jurong Island and the Jurong Rock Caverns. And as we intend to do by moving Paya Lebar Airport to Changi and PSA's container terminals from Tanjong Pagar to Tuas. Our manpower situation is tighter, though we can still help more women to continue working in the workforce after they've started their families. And we can also encourage more older people to stay in the workforce and work longer. In this new situation, productivity becomes more important, not less. Not only is it important to grow our economy, but it's also crucial for raising the incomes of workers. In the short term, wages may rise more or less by themselves in a tight labor market. But in the long term, wage rises can only be sustained by higher productivity. Therefore, we've embarked on our next phase of the productivity drive, continuing to upgrade individual workers, but also emphasizing productivity at the company and the industry level. And our strategy to improve productivity has three prongs. First, we do our best to support companies in upgrading productivity, be it investing in technology, in training workers, or in streamlining operations. So we're incentivizing companies to invest more in productivity and skills through tax benefits and credits like the PIC, the Productivity and Innovation Credit, across the board and in every sector. But at the same time, we have many schemes tailored to companies in individual sectors and industries, which companies can tap on to make such productivity improvements, to innovate, to upgrade their workers. And I'm happy to see that there's been a steady increase in the take-up of these schemes. Secondly, we're controlling foreign worker inflows so that we put pressure on companies to upgrade your workers rather than simply hiring extra cheap bodies. But still, we give companies enough access to foreign workers to complement your Singaporean workforce, because if we allow in too few foreign workers or freeze their numbers, some businesses will not survive, especially the SMEs, and many Singaporean jobs will also disappear. And the latest manpower numbers show that our efforts are bearing fruit. The foreign worker growth has slowed significantly. It's the lowest since 5 years ago. Now it's at a more sustainable level and about where we want it to be. And real wages are rising. Median wages are going up, and more importantly, wages at the low end are going up too. So as I said last week, I don't expect any further major measures to tighten our foreign worker numbers. But we will give companies time to adjust to the measures and to retool themselves. At the same time, we will continue to monitor this closely to ensure that we stay on track in avoiding any over-dependence on foreign workers. Thirdly, we are treating productivity as a national effort where everyone has to play their part. Companies must adopt a productivity mindset and not be afraid to implement technological solutions or change business processes to improve efficiency. Employers must seek constantly to improve their operations, recognize their workers' skills, and value and train workers. Education and training institutions have to equip workers with the relevant skills, and the workers themselves have to hone and upgrade their skills, as well as help to identify problems at work and improve work processes. They need to have that will to improve themselves. Of course, the unions are playing their part, encouraging workers to take advantage of opportunities. to upgrade, and as a whole, our society must celebrate individuals for their passion, for their endeavor and skills, and not just for their qualifications. Outside the workplace, we have to be open to change, Singaporeans individually and Singapore as a society. Because productivity requires change in mindsets, and not just in businesses and workers, but also mindsets of customers who have to be prepared to accept new business models, including, for example, self-service formats. I know that many businesses and workers have been trying hard to cope with change, and indeed it's hard, but we are mounting a national effort and we are tackling this comprehensively. If we look at our productivity journey over the last half-century, I think we can be optimistic that our restructuring will be successful. We do have some challenges to overcome. For example, in changing social attitudes that overvalue paper qualifications, and we need to create more diverse pathways upwards. And I spoke at length about this in the National Day rally. So we've set up the Skills Future Council, chaired by DPM Tharman, to focus on building skill-based career progression for all Singaporeans. And the Skills Future Council will also take a deeper approach at the sectoral level, working with employers, unions, and training institutions to develop the skills that we need for the future. In several sectors, progress in upgrading productivity has been slow, for example, in construction and also in some service industries. Construction continues to heavily rely on foreign workers, who make up close to 1/3 of our foreign workforce in Singapore. And in food and beverages and in retail, our service skills and efficiency are significantly lower still than, say, in the US. But there are also encouraging signs, even there. Some sectors are steadily upgrading themselves. For example, precision engineering, transport engineering, and finance and insurance have had good productivity performance. But even in the slower sectors, firms are changing. Take in F&B, one company, Oromo Coffee. It's one of many cafes in Singapore in a very competitive market. They wanted to increase sales without increasing their headcount. So they redesigned their service model, segregated the customer types. The regulars can do direct ordering because they know what they want. For the rest, they designed a dedicated ordering app with customizable drinks for those who have more time, want to explore their menu, and self-service collection. And so there are new and enhanced visual touch points with the revamped menu. And the result is they've reduced ordering and billing time significantly, and most importantly, their business turnover has gone up 80%, nearly double, without any additional staff costs. So I presume that the company is doing well, and I think their lessons can be learned by other companies too. Innovation doesn't have to be rocket science, but companies must be willing to relook at how things are done. We'll continue to work with employers and unions in all industries to raise their productivity, not just through technology, but also by transforming business processes, management, and business models. And I'm glad and grateful that the SBF and SNEF have taken the initiative to restart this Productivity Month and to spread the message amongst employers that productivity is crucial. And I'm also glad that the unions are solidly behind this effort. For example, the NTUC is operating the Devan Nair Institute for Employment and Employability, and together with the Lifelong Learning Institute, the Devan Nair Institute will help workers and companies to keep themselves updated and relevant. And the government will continue to work with our tripartite partners to invest in our people and to create new pathways upwards for Singaporeans. So productivity is a long haul, a marathon without a finish line. But so long as we have confidence and keep working at it together, we will stay in the race and ahead in the race. So let's build on our momentum and make steady progress in transforming our economy for many years to come. Thank you very much.